If I asked you to describe the trilogy of FNaF games, how would you describe it? A game series where you work at a pizzeria with haunted robots that are trying to actively kill you? Yeah, I'd say that's a solid description. It's kind of a good thing that Scott ended FNaF here. I mean, imagine if there was another game after his supposed finale. Guess we should have seen that coming. Welcome everyone. Before we begin covering the fourth entry of Scott's popular gaming franchise, if you're interested to watch my video essay, I'd really appreciate if you took the time to drop a like and subscribe. You can always change your mind later. With that out of the way, let's begin covering Five Nights at Freddy's 4. So, let's begin with the ambience. Okay, I'ma just flat out say it. This game's ambience is easily the best of the entire franchise. If you thought FNaF 1 had a scary ambience, nah, you're not ready for this. This game switches up the formula once again, where instead of playing in a restaurant where you try to survive, you must now survive in your own house, in the dead of the night. It makes you feel like these monsters that have haunted you in the workplace before have now followed you to your home. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want any of them anywhere near my house. This decision by Scott helps to make the game stand out from its previous installments. This game simultaneously gives you, the player, the most power you've had in all the games, while also giving you the least amount of power you've had in any of the games. You can actually move around in this game, which was not a thing in the previous entries. The game also gives you a flashlight like in FNaF 2, and also doors. So, that's one new mechanic and two returning mechanics all in one game. You should feel powerful, right? So why don't we? Simple. No other entry in the franchise has been able to give a heavier atmosphere than this one. When you open the doors to check for an animatronic, at first you see complete darkness, right? That means there could be a 7-foot tall animatronic standing right in front of you, shrouded in darkness, and you wouldn't even know it's there, which makes you feel like the powerless kid you play as in this game. Next up, we have the gameplay. So, the only way to know if a horrific animatronic is outside the door waiting to jump at you and kill you is to crank up that volume and listen. Listen for breathing. If you hear it, you immediately have to shut the door before it's too late. But, and here's where Scott's genius game design comes in, this leaves you, the player, vulnerable. Why? Well, now that you've cranked up the volume to max, one mistake and you're getting an ear-shattering jump scare from the horrific monstrosity you were trying to keep away, which is really effective. Hell, when the game initially released, the breathing sound had such a low volume that even with the volume at max, it was extremely hard to hear, which caused, well, you know.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through. Ah, fuck! What the fuck? Oh, God!
So Scott eventually fixed it with a patch later so that it was a little easier. Hearing being such an important part of this entry helps it to stand out from the previous games. Speaking of audio, can we talk about the title screen? Because holy shit, I have never been more terrified to play a FNaF game before. It's as if sounds that weren't meant to be put together have been put together to create this unnerving sequence of sounds that sends shivers down your spine. The title track just absolutely knocks it out of the park. It immediately sets in the tone that while this is still a FNaF game, it's different. It doesn't feel the same. The title track for the mobile and console ports isn't that good, but the original from the PC version perfectly sets in the tone as soon as you boot up the game. Now, let's move on to the animatronics. The animatronics are a little hit and miss. That's not to say they're bad, it's just that some of them are done really well, while the others, Not so much. Nightmare Bonnie has a pretty good design, just like in FNaF 1. Nightmare Foxy also has a pretty solid design, although originally he was supposed to have a tongue. It was theorized that the tongue was removed to stop the Tumblr posts as much as possible. In the end, it was found out that Scott only removed it because he figured it would be hard to animate. Nightmare Chica is okay. The problem with Chica is she can only jump scare you at the door. If you're at the front of the bed, then her cupcake is what jump scares you. And well, I'ma be honest, that kinda kills the tension at times. I mean, dude, a freaking Nightmare Cupcake jump scare? Really? And well, Nightmare Freddy is, yeah, he's kinda trash. I'm sorry, but this is not a good design. The Freddles are a cool concept, but Freddy himself, kinda goofy. But Nightmare Fredbear, on the other hand, is a really good design. His design in general is just, well, terrifying. With those large claws, bloody sharp teeth, stomach mouths with sharp teeth, and towering over us, the player, making us feel as if we have no power or control over the situation we've been put in. Nightmare is also a pretty good design, but I don't think he works as well as Fredbear, since Fredbear's colors stand out and contrast against his dark background. Meanwhile, Nightmare kinda blends with it a bit too much. Don't get me wrong though, Nightmare has the better jump scare. That single frame jump scare is a callback to Golden Freddy from the first entry of the franchise. The Plush Trap hallway game is also pretty good. Plush Trap feels like a doll coming to life trying to hunt down a child, which is terrifying in its own right. And last but not least, we have the lore. This game is easily the most lore-packed one yet. At the end of each night, you get minigames. These minigames simultaneously seem easier to understand than the ones from FNaF 2 and 3, while also being the most difficult to solve and put in a timeline sense. This is the game that also introduces to us the Bite of 87. Nope, the Bite of 83. I don't know why Scott decided to have a second bite in his series, but oh well, I'm sure that did not confuse anyone. There's also one mystery in this game that hasn't been definitively solved, and that is the box. Yes, the infamous FNaF 4 box that Scott never ended up revealing because he thought the community might not accept what truly was in it and how much of an earth-shattering impact it could have had on the series if it did not resonate with his audience. In the base game, when it shows the box, it is stated, "Some things are best left forgotten for now." However, after the Halloween updates Scott had added, the statement was updated to, "Some things are best left forgotten forever." He then tried to reveal it in FNaF World, but ultimately decided not to. However, this mystery of the box, the bite, and other Easter eggs in the game is what kept the fandom alive through 2015 to 2016. Overall, FNaF 4 is the best in the franchise when it comes to atmospheric tension and build-up, and the payoff actually delivers most of the time, unlike FNaF 3. However, the animatronic cast in its entirety is a mixed bag, with some really good ones and some really weird and bad ones. Some people complain that this is where the lore kind of went off the rails, which caused some people to start losing interest. However, if you think the lore went in weird directions in this installment, you have no idea what's coming next.